It was Tuesday night, October 27th, 1992. I was working as a DJ/MC at a bar in Toronto on Danforth Avenue called Caesars. Yes, it was a strip club. Yeah, well, we kinda branded it as an exotic sports bar. Well, I guess that was a polite way of putting it for sure, but that pretty well described the atmosphere, the clientele, and the staff. We were all into sports, rock and roll, and dancers. So, October 24th, 1992, 3 days earlier, was a Saturday night. Nick, the owner of the bar, allows me to shut down the stage shows so the bar can watch the last half of the ninth inning between the Atlanta Braves and the Toronto Blue Jays. The entire bar, sold out, watched the Jays win the World Series when Joe Carter made that final out at first base. Now the place went nuts. We all celebrated. And about 3 minutes later, Nick comes back into the booth and says, "Get someone on stage." Now, a couple of things about that series. Kelly Gruber was the Jays' outstanding third baseman. In one of the games in the World Series, Kelly chased a runner back to second base in a rundown. That was Deion Sanders. He appeared to tag Deion on the foot, which would have been a triple play, only the second in World Series history. Well, unfortunately, the umpire called him safe. No replay rule or even cell phones back in the day to overturn the play, so it's history. Second thing about Kelly was his super aggressive dive into home plate in one of the games to score a run. He dove in so hard that he scuffed his chin. Anyway, on that Tuesday shift, a dancer suddenly came into the booth begging me to get her out of her stage show. She goes, "Hey, one of the Blue Jays is here and he wants me to dance for him." Now, I figure she's lying. I figure she's making an excuse to get out of the show, right? "One of the Blue Jays is here," I go. "Come on, don't bullshit me. Who is it? Who? What's his name?" So she has no idea, right? Because she's not a baseball fan. So she goes, Gruber, Gerber, I look at her and I go, "Gruber? Kelly Gruber? You're telling me Kelly Gruber is in the bar?" Yeah, that's him," she says. Now, I don't believe her, right? And I'm really upset. So I say, "Get out of my booth, get out of here." Now, I'm sitting there stewing for a couple of minutes, and then, sure enough, around the corner walks this little entourage with Kelly Gruber in the middle. It was really him, the guy we had all watched win the World Series on that big screen TV just behind him 3 nights earlier. The bar was electric with excitement. Nick, the owner, quickly found him a table and a dancer. Now, this was before Kelly was married, in all fairness. It was 92. We set them up with champagne and drinks all night long, and he was treated like a hero, which at the moment he kind of was. Now, Tuesday nights are usually the slowest night of the week and pretty boring, but not this one. It was slow, not even half full, but one of the most fun shifts I ever worked. Not bad considering I usually hated working Tuesdays. Customers in the bar were all flocking to Kelly's table, shaking hands, asking him to sign whatever was handy. Paper napkins, menus, placemats, even dollar bills, which were paper in 92. And I happened to have one of his baseball cards on hand, so I was patiently waiting my time, because I knew that would come eventually, and maybe a moment alone if I was lucky. Kelly was gracious and friendly with everyone who dropped by, signing everything and shaking hands. Now, this was a time before everyone had a phone with a camera, so imagine, if you can, no selfies. Now, before you Google it, cell phones did exist in 92. In fact, one of my dancers had one of those big brick kinds, the one you could hammer something or injure somebody or maybe, stop open a door with. But that was in 92, and there was no cameras in these things. And yeah, I know, you can't imagine a cell phone with no camera, can you? I know. Here's a list of all the things you could do with a cell phone in 1992. Number 1, make phone calls. End of list. Anyway, after the buzz of a celebrity in the bar quieted down a little bit, I walked up to Kelly's table, I introduced myself and let him know, hey, if there's anything you need, let me know, and could you drop by the booth on your way out for just a moment? He was really nice. I was impressed. In fact, everybody in the bar was impressed. The thing about it, I could still see the scuff on his face from that famous slide. How's the chin? I asked. He smiled at me and rubbed his chinny chin and said, pretty good. Finally, at the end of the night, Kelly's group gets up to leave, and he's mobbed again, of course. Now, I'm trying to get his attention. His bodyguard sees this, and he goes, hey, Gruber, the DJ wants you. Oh, okay, Kelly says, and he stumbles into the booth. Now, at the time, I had just started collecting baseball cards, and my ritual during the World Series was to pin cards of the Blue Jays lineup for that game in the shape of a diamond on the corkboard in the booth above my head. Kelly's Upper Deck baseball card was still there from Saturday night. I asked him to sign it, and he did. We chatted for a bit, we joked, and then I said, answer me one question before you leave. On that play, the one that could have been a triple play, honestly, did you get him? Kelly looks at me and says, yep, I think I got him. I got him on the foot. I was blown away that I got to hear with my own ears from the player himself that yes, he actually tagged Deion Sanders out, and it should have been only the second triple play in World Series history. For me, that was the true highlight of that experience. Not many get to ask the player personally about the truth of a controversial play. Replays later showed that Kelly was telling the truth. The umpire later admitted he blew the call. That card signing was nice, but it's simply a reminder of that privileged moment and a little brush with greatness.